For decades, we thought we knew which countries were, well, winning. But what if the way we've been keeping score has been missing a huge, planet sized piece of the puzzle? Okay, let's get into this, because the world's leaderboard is about to get completely flipped on its head. I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? How do you really measure a nation's success? Is it all about money, health, education? For a long, long time, the go to answer has been a mix of all three. And for years, this was the result: the Human Development Index, or HDI. Think of it as the world's official report card for progress. And at the top, you always see the usual suspects, right? Iceland, Norway, Switzerland. These are the countries we've looked to as the gold standard. But, and this is a big but, here's where the story gets really interesting. What if that gold standard comes with a massive hidden cost, a price tag that doesn't show up on the official receipt, but one that we're all paying for? So, just so we're all on the same page, the HDI is a pretty powerful tool. It looks at life expectancy, how many years people go to school, and their income, all to give us this single number that tells us how well people are doing. But here is the massive, glaring problem. The HDI has a huge blind spot. It tracks all of our amazing progress without ever checking the damage report. It's like getting an A+ on a final exam, but you kind of forgot to mention you had to burn down the school library to find the answers. And that is where our hero of the story comes in. Meet the PHDI. It's a simple, but honestly a revolutionary tweak to that old formula. It's designed to fix that exact blind spot. So what's the big difference? Well, the old HDI basically asks, are people in this country thriving? The new PHDI asks a much smarter question. Are people thriving without trashing the planet to get there? It's a huge upgrade. And it does this by adding two new factors into the mix. First up is one we all know about: carbon dioxide emissions. Pretty simple, right? It measures the greenhouse gases a country is pumping out, mostly from things like burning fossil fuels. It's a direct measure of a country's impact on the climate. The second factor is something called the material footprint. Okay, think of this as the total weight of everything a country digs up and uses. All the metals, the wood, the fossil fuels, all the raw stuff it takes to power its lifestyle. Now, the way it's calculated is actually pretty easy to understand. You take the country's original HDI score, then you figure out a penalty, an adjustment factor, based on its CO2 emissions and that material footprint. The more you pollute and consume, the bigger the penalty. You multiply the two together, and bam, you've got the new PHDI score. All right, so here's the big reveal. What actually happens when we put on these new glasses and look at the world? Well, let's just say the map of global success gets totally redrawn. Let's look at a real-world case to see just how dramatic this shift is. Take a country like Australia. Using the old HDI, they're a superstar, ranked 7th in the world. Really impressive. But when you factor in those planetary pressures, their rank plummets by 59 places. I mean, that is a massive fall from grace. That drop knocks Australia completely out of that top-tier club of very high human development. It's a wake-up call that their high quality of life comes with a really heavy environmental price tag. And it's not just an isolated case. Check out the United States. Traditionally, they're sitting comfortably at number 17 in the world. Very high development. But you apply this new PHDI filter, and boom, they drop 57 spots. Again, it's a huge re-ranking that reflects their enormous carbon and material footprint. And if you want to see a really extreme example, just look at this chart for Luxembourg. Their original HDI score is amazing, a 0.922, but their PHDI, it's just 0.479. Their development score gets literally cut in half once you account for their impact on the planet. But hold on, this isn't all bad news. This is where you see the other side of the story. Look at Costa Rica. Their HDI is really high, but their PHDI is almost the same. The penalty is tiny. This proves it's possible to have a high quality of life without destroying the planet. They actually leap up 37 places in the new rankings. I mean, the scale of this whole re-ranking is just mind-blowing. Countries that have built their success on high consumption and emissions see these unbelievable drops. Luxembourg down 122 places. Qatar falls 117. Singapore, 90. The old definition of success is being turned completely upside down. And it all boils down to this one simple, powerful idea right here. True development doesn't have to cost the Earth. It's a call to completely rethink what progress even means. Because look, the point of this whole thing isn't to shame countries or say we should stop trying to improve people's lives. Not at all. The real goal is to create an incentive to transform, to find new, smarter ways to have great lives and heal the planet at the very same time. And if you're wondering who has the most work to do, well, this chart says it all. The planetary pressure penalty, that percentage hit to the score, falls overwhelmingly on the world's richest nations. The Very High Development Group gets an almost 19% penalty, while the score for the Low Development Group barely even moves. So, in the end, the PHDI is so much more than just a new set of numbers. It's really a new map for our future. It's a vision for a world where humanity's progress isn't at war with nature, but is actually working hand in hand with it. It shows us that a different, better path is actually possible. But it leaves us all with one last really important question. Now that we have a new scorecard, now that we know what a winning score really looks like, how are we going to change the way we play the game?